There is nothing more inspiring yet disheartening as a photographer or videographer than looking through your explore page on Instagram at all the beautiful photos taken from all around the world and wondering why your images don't have the beauty, emotion, or story that all the other images seem to have. Whether it be that the destination just doesn't seem to weigh up against the destinations of these travel vloggers traveling all around the world, or it might be that you're just not as good with editing as those people are, or the unfortunate one, you blame it on the gear that you may or may not have. Well, if you've been in that spot before, or you're in that spot right now, like I have countless times before, I'm going to bring you 4 tips and tricks that I use every single time I shoot that have helped my work go from stuff like this to stuff like this in just over 18 months and help you instantly up your photography game. But before we get started, if I'm a new face, my name's Tom. I'm a photographer and filmmaker from Melbourne, Australia, who specializes in ocean and adventure photography. My Instagram is _Tom Noske. I'll chuck that just up there. If you haven't seen my work before, head over and check it out. I would really, really appreciate it. But for now, we're going to jump straight into it. The first tip we're going to jump into is have a subject or focal point and give your audience something to focus on. I cannot tell you how incredibly important this tip is and how much it's helped me in 2018 become a better creator. Think about it this way. You've got to have a focal point of your image. Even if it's a beautiful landscape where there's a number of things that you could be looking at, you've got to have 1 or 2 main focuses for the image that really draw your audience in. Otherwise, they're going to be left looking around the entire image with nothing to focus on and nothing to draw them in and nothing to help them tell a story. Imagine your focal point is your way of controlling how your audience sees your image and gives you an insight into how your image will be received around the world by people that see it. Giving your image a clear focal point that is going to be obvious to viewers is your way of imagining how they are going to perceive it and gives you an ability to really start to share a story through your images rather than just creating beautiful images. If you've got a focal point, you can build your story around that focal point rather than having a number of focal points and letting your audience sort of assume where they should be looking. If you've ever spent any time on my Instagram, you know I love to have a focal point in my images. I'll chuck up a couple examples here. I combine that with scale and boom, I've instantly got a photo that portrays emotion and has a subject, and I've began to tell a story through my images rather than just pumping out images that look beautiful. They're images that can convey an emotion, they're images that tell a story. I just want to clarify as well that the focal point doesn't have to be a person. Obviously, you're going to go through my Instagram and you'll see that most of the time the focal point is a person or an object, but it can be a tree, a landmark, a building, a car, a house, a person. Whatever you can do to begin to include subjects or have a clear focal point in your images will only make your storytelling through your images stronger. So focus on having a focal point. Tip number 1, have a focal point or subject in your image. Tip number 2 is shoot as often as you can, especially in the beginning. I remember back when I first got my camera, I would shoot literally every single day, and not just once a day. I would take my camera to work with me, sling it over my shoulder, before work, after work, during work, on my break, at night. Whenever I could shoot, I would shoot, and that made such a difference for starting out. Not only did it help me experience different conditions, but it just let me get some time in my camera, and really there is no other way that you're going to learn anything better. And this carries into everything else in filmmaking and photography. If you need to learn new software, do it all the time. If you need to learn a new camera, do it all the time. If you need to learn the business side of it, do it all the time. Doing it frequently will help you learn faster. So tip number 2 is shoot as often as you can. Tip number 3 is have a plan and a goal every single time you shoot. Now, what I mean by this is I like to assess where I'm going. So I might know the day before, or the night before, the week before, where I'm going to be shooting. And what I do then is I have 3 to 5 images that I really want to get. I call them my must-gets. And the reason I do this is because it allows me to really know exactly what I'm doing before I get to a destination. Obviously, you can't do this all the time. Sometimes the destinations you stumble upon are destinations you didn't plan on going to. Or sometimes the destinations aren't heavily documented, so you can't plan ahead because there's nothing to plan. But where you can plan, pick 3 to 5 images that are your must-gets for that shoot, and it'll only help you to be more productive when you do shoot. Think about it this way. If you're going for sunrise, and your sunrise time frame might be 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes max for shooting, and you arrive to your destination, you pull up out of the car, it's a little bit of a cold morning. Maybe there's not much light hanging around already, you can't really see the area yet, so you're going to wait for the sun to come up to survey it. If you had to plan that shot, or you had to had your 4 must-gets, you would be straight onto it straight away. You'd be straight in the groove of things, you'd get your 3 to 5 shots, or you'd get yourself in a position to get your 3 to 5 shots, and from that, you'd be moving straight away. Momentum is powerful, and suddenly, instead of getting 3 to 5 shots, you might get 20 to 30 shots, or 30 to 40 shots, or 50 plus shots that are all beautiful images just because you planned those 3 to 5. Whereas, if you don't plan them, you might get to the destination, you might be a little bit tired, it might be dark, it might be cold, you might not really know where you are or what you're doing, and it won't be until the sun comes up that you're able to plan your shots, and then once the sun's up, you've only got a small window of time, so you end up just getting 1 or 2 good shots for the day. Plan your shoots well ahead of time. That's tip number 3, plan your shoots. And tip number 4 is my favorite on this list today, and that is know your capabilities when it comes to the edit. I cannot tell you how valuable this tip has been for me in 2018. It allowed me to really control my shoots. It allowed me to have a focus. It allowed me to know exactly what I was doing when I got to each destination. Think about it this way. Because of the knowledge that I know that I can replace skies, or I can use Photoshop, or I can use Lightroom well, or I can bring out certain colors, I'm able to go into a shoot not only focusing on capturing images that I see in front of me, but capturing things that I can use in later images, or capturing certain things so I can do certain things with those images. I'll chuck up a couple examples here of before and afters. This image, for example, I saw the reflection on the morning, and I thought immediately about the edit that I was going to create, that is this edit here. And obviously if I had arrived at that destination and I didn't know I was capable of creating an edit like this, I wouldn't have taken that first image because I wouldn't have known what to focus on. I wouldn't have known I was even capable of doing that. So because of that, I knew I was able to do this, and I knew I was able to take that image. The second one here is a shot taken on a ugly morning in Byron Bay. It's a shot that I've done an unpacking that gram on, so if you want to check out the edit for it, I'll put the tag just above me here. But yeah, it's a shot that I took on an ugly morning in Byron Bay. Now obviously, if I was just shooting what was in front of me and I didn't know I was going to be shooting to edit something like this, I wouldn't have gone out that morning. It was an ugly morning, it was raining, it was cold, it wasn't very nice, there was no light. But I went out anyway because I knew that I could use those images for something in the future. The other thing as well is I shoot skies. So whenever I'm out shooting, if there really is a really nice sunset or something that's particularly beautiful about a destination or whatever it is, I will shoot images purely to use for Photoshop in other images. And that is something that I wouldn't do unless I knew I was capable with Photoshop. So tip number 4, and by far the most valuable on the list, is know your capabilities when it comes to the edit, because it will only help you focus your attention more when you're out shooting and take advantage of those mornings and afternoons and sunsets more. So those have been the 4 tips. To recap, tip number 1 was have a subject or a focal point in your images. Tip number 2 was shoot as often as you can. Tip number 3 was plan and research your shoots ahead. And tip number 4 was know your capabilities when it comes to the editing room. I hope this video has helped. I hope you've taken something away from it. If you have, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share this video with your friends, share it to everyone you know that could take something away from this video. And if you haven't seen my work before, or if I'm a new face, check out my Instagram at _Tom Noske. But till next time, I'll see you guys later.